Let's hear now from American Democrat Party strategist Julie Roginski, who thinks she's going to stop the military from deporting illegal migrants.
Promise you with every fiber of my being, because I'll probably be one of those people, that if anybody comes for these people and tries to drag them out by force, there will be protests of people like me, American citizens, who are going to stand there and do everything possible to prevent these women and children, which is all who these people are.
Remember when they found that cocaine in the White House and somehow they couldn't figure out whose it was, and then the Secret Service destroyed the evidence? Clearly no obvious suspects came immediately to mind. Now to MSNBC and far left commentator Molly Jong-Fast, who was left speechless by news of Hunter Biden's pardon.
Hunter lied on a mandatory gun purchase form by saying he was not illegally using or addicted to drugs. According to NBC News, the president made the decision this weekend. Molly, fast and furious, what do you make of this new news?
I just heard it. I have to process it. I don't have a take. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I don't want to have a take, lady. That's your job. You've got one job there, and it's to have a take. Watch now as CNN subjects Democrat Dan Goldman to a humiliation ritual of sorts. This is a thing of beauty. They literally play him footage of himself on ABC lying his lefty butt off about how Joe Biden was never going to pardon his son Hunter. I got to say, I love CNN for this.
This is what you said. I want to watch.
Do you think a pardon for his son would be a mistake?
Yes, and I don't think there's any chance that President Biden is going to do that, unlike his predecessor, who pardoned all of his friends.
What does that feel like, watching yourself back then, reassuring people that Biden was not going to issue a pardon for his son?
Yeah, and I think that if that plea agreement and that plea deal had gone through, there would be no pardon. That was a satisfactory outcome.
It had already fallen
that
through.
Only was. Sorry?
When you reacted, this was when the deal had fallen through.
Now, we were told again and again, not just by the Biden White House, but also its propaganda arm, the overwhelming majority of the US media, that Joe Biden would never pardon his crack-addled whore enthusiast son. He has too much integrity to do that. He has too much respect for the legal process.
Major commitment from the president, accepting the outcome of the trial and also pledging not to pardon his son.
Presidential promise to put the law before a family.
I said I abide by the jury decision. I will do that, and I will not pardon him.
Letting the world know that he will not wipe away the decision of 12 of his son's peers.
One side, Democrats and Joe Biden protecting the justice system. And on the other, Republicans and Trump protecting Trump.
A current president of the United States has so much respect for the law that he has said he would not pardon his son. I mean, what... Yeah. You know, again, it's all about the contrast.
Joining me now is Newsweek Senior Editor-at-Large and Article 3 Project Senior Counsel Josh Hammer. Josh, Joe Biden has not only pardoned his son, this is the most comprehensive, far-reaching pardon I think we've seen. Joe Biden signed a full and unconditional pardon for Hunter, covering all offences against the United States, which he has committed or may have committed or taken part in during the period from January 1, 2014 through to December 1, 2024, including but not limited to all offences charged or prosecuted. The scope of this pardon is enormous, Josh.
Rita, the scope is so enormous and indeed is so unprecedented, truly unprecedented. I've actually spent a lot of time trying to think over these past 36 hours or so as to whether or not there is anything remotely resembling a clear precedent for a pardon this sweeping. And honestly, I come up blank. I mean, this is the kind of language that you put into a pardon that I think back to my time in law school here in the United States. I mean, if I were a constitutional law professor, I would literally put a pardon like this on a first-year law student exam to try to question the students as to whether something something like this is even permissible, as to whether it's even constitutional in the first place. The short answer is that it is, unfortunately, because the pardon power is truly plenary. But the point is that there's no precedent for this. I mean, this has not happened, to my knowledge, any time in recent history or in history at all, let alone to actually do so to one's son, to one's literal next of kin. I mean, I'm somewhat flabbergasted, Reed. I really don't necessarily have words for this. And the fact that you're tying it back to January of 2014 in particular, well, you know, what happened in the year 2014? Oh, yeah, that's right. Well, Hunter Biden started sitting on the board of Burisma in the spring of 2014, just a few years after January 2014, no doubt, Rita, for his subject matter expertise on Eastern European Baltic Sea oil and natural gas energy exports. I jest, of course. He has no expertise in this whatsoever. But I mean, you know, Joe Biden says that this was an example of a politicized prosecution. I actually agree with him, but for the exact opposite reason. The special counsel, David Weiss, deliberately slow-walked this case. He did not look into FARA, the Foreign Agents Registration Act. He deliberately let the 5-year statute of limitations toll on that particular statute there. And by the way, he tried to submit a plea deal in the summer of 2023 that was such a sweetheart deal that the federal judge, Mary Ellen Noriega, rejected as just being too favorable to the criminal defendant. As a former federal law clerk, I can tell you, not something that happens every day in court. This whole thing just stinks from top to bottom. The fish rots from the head. The silver lining, here's the silver lining. I'll end on a positive note. The silver lining here is that when Donald Trump comes into power in January 2025, any morsel of credibility that the left had when they complained about Donald Trump's purported abuses of the justice system, it's over. They have no credibility whatsoever. You and I both know they had no credibility with the Jack Smith lawfare to begin with here. But this is the final nail in the coffin. This is really it at this point. They have revealed themselves for the tyrants that they are.
Well, I'm not even a little bit shocked by any of this. I'm a little bit shocked by the scope of the pardon, because that is just astonishing, as you've just explained. But let's not forget, Donald Trump was impeached for wanting to investigate what actually happened with Ukraine and Hunter Biden and Burisma, just for wanting to have a look at things that are now beyond the justice system, where Hunter Biden has just got this get out of jail free card. And I do wonder whether that get out of jail free card, Josh, is really for Joe Biden himself and other members of the family, because at the end of the day, Joe Biden was the product. This entire pay for access scheme they were running, Joe was at the centre of it. Without him, there would be no money coming in.
Yeah, I think you've nailed it. This pardon is only partially for Hunter Biden. It really is a pardon for the entire Biden family in general. Look, there have been many on the right side of the American political aisle, myself included, who have been calling for the Biden DOJ, or excuse me, for the Trump DOJ, that is, to reopen a new special counsel probe into Hunter Biden come day one, to look back into possible violations of the Foreign Agents Registration Act and various other overseas foreign dealings. Now, with this pardon in place here, assuming that it is upheld in court, which again, I believe it will be, for better or for worse, but with this pardon in place, you can't do that. And that ultimately is what Joe Biden is trying to do here. I think he's basically taking an action, Rita, to try to make a play for the presidential historians who will write books about his presidency 15, 20, 30 years now. And what he's trying to do is he's trying to preclude his own name and his brother's name, Jim Biden, and I guess Hunter's name, from being revealed in a subsequent deposition or a judicial hearing or a House Republican subpoena investigation. He's trying to obviate all of that with the sweeping nature of this pardon. Little does he know, though, that in doing such a corrupt, a venal, a grossly self-serving, hypocritical thing, after months and months of just lying, just not even gaslighting, just straight up lying to the American people over and over and over again, little does he know that he actually has sealed his fate with the presidential historians here in the U.S. That fate, though, is not what he hopes it will be.
I do wonder, Josh, whether he's going to be cute now and try to pardon Donald Trump and his ridiculous convictions, the trumped-up charges we saw in New York, which are ultimately going to be reversed on appeal. But do you think he will do something like that? He'll pull something like that in the final weeks?
I can see it happening. I mean, but they've tried this trick before, Rita. I mean, they did this when they indicted Bob Menendez, the very corrupt senator from New Jersey, the Democrat who was taking Egyptian literal bars of gold were found in his closet there. They did a similar thing when they indicted Eric Adams, the mayor of New York City there, who apparently was taking some sum of money from the country of Turkey. He was flying Turkish Airlines there. So they're actually very good at this. They're very good at basically dangling out these cheap objects and hoping to obfuscate and to bamboozle the right here in America, trying to convince you that, oh, everything's above board. You see, we're prosecuting both sides, or hey, we're letting both sides off the hook. They're very good at that. They've tried this tactic before. But at this point, Rita, I think the onus is on us on the right, those of us who are conservatives, constitutionals, pro-America patriots, to see this for what it is, which is an unprecedented act of self-serving venality in American history.